Good morning. This week we restart the book of Bereishit. We start reading the entire Torah again. And as we do so, I'd like to ask you a question which I think is a very important one. And that is, what kind of book is the Torah? What are we supposed to gain from it? How we are supposed to approach it? What should we have in mind to extract from its teachings as we read? Now, of course, we know that it's a religious book. It's God's book. It's a holy book. This is the word of Hashem himself. But I want to clarify my question a little bit. If you would pick up a medical textbook and read it expecting to read an adventure novel, you're going to be severely disappointed. In fact, I remember once looking through Amazon.com at their most expensive book. It's a textbook on nuclear physics. I don't know if it still is, but it was a textbook on nuclear physics, like volume 3. And people had written a lot of funny comments and reviews. You know, this book which cost like $5,000. So people are writing about how this is the culmination of the series where the hero tries to save the world from nuclear destruction, making out like it's some kind of novel, when really, of course, I would imagine it's a very, very technical and difficult book that I'm sure the Iranians have purchased many copies of. But the idea is that you have this, you have to know what you're reading in order to properly appreciate it. And so when we look at the Torah, what kind of book is it? What is the Torah trying to tell us? And I believe that fundamentally, and this is from the beginning of Pirkei Avot, fundamentally the Torah is telling us three things. How do we relate to God? How do we relate to other people? How do we relate to ourselves? This is what the Maharal of Prague says is the foundation really of life, is the foundation of the world. So for example, right at the beginning of Pirkei Avot, it says the world stands on three things: Torah, Avodah, Gemilut Chasadim. On Torah, on service of God, and of acts of kindness. And the Maharal of Prague says, Torah, study of godly wisdom, makes us great within ourselves, uplifts us as people, turns us into people of greatness and content. Avodah, service of God, that is our relationship to Hashem, that we are able to tap in to godly power and understand godly authority and godly strength and all of Hashem's greatness. Well, not able to understand all of Hashem's greatness, a tiny glimpse of Hashem's greatness, but to take that with us into our lives and to live with that consciousness and awareness and accountability. And Gemilut Chasadim, kindness to one another, is the ultimate way in which we relate to others. That essentially is what the Torah is there for. The Torah is not there, and this discussion always comes up when we talk about Torah and science, and that's not something I want to go into now. But whether the Torah is telling you something that's compatible with science or not compatible with science, I think everybody should be very clear on the fact that that's not what the Torah is about. The Torah is not a book of science. The Torah is a book of relationships. The Torah is a book to tell you how to be a godly soul, how to be a human being in the image of God living in this world. What does it mean to live as a person? What does that look like? How should a person engage with others? How should a person relate to God? How should a person interact with the world? Who should a person strive to become within themselves? These are, I think, the most fundamental questions that we have in life. And there is no other book that is written by God to tell us how to answer those questions. That's what we should have from the very first page that we open the Torah. And the Torah can be understood, as we know, on so many different levels. So on the straightforward level, you see, well, how do we relate to God? We do not relate to God as random powers of nature, as the idol worshippers did. We relate to God as the unified, the one behind all of these powers, the source of all, the creator of all, as we see in the first chapter. How do we relate to other people? Well, we see it shouldn't be like Cain and Abel, where you're so jealous, right, that you resort to violence and attrition to take what somebody else has or to replace them or to get them out the way. Saw a little child the other day running in a race. So they want to be first, so they stick out their arm so the other one can't overtake it. That's not how you should behave. You have all of those kinds of things. Who should you be within yourself? So the Torah tells you about Abraham and his kindness and so on. So that's on a simple level. When you go deeper, you start to see the deep truths about God that are revealed. The deep truths about humanity that are revealed. But all of those cycle back to the same thing. It's to teach you how to engage in those relationships. It's not that you will know the deep truths of God so that you'll be, wow, now I'm the guru. It's that you'll know those truths of God so that you will be a better person in your relationship with God, that you'll be able to relate to God more appropriately, more deeply, more completely, and more truly. And the same within becoming yourself more deeply, truly, and appropriately, and relating to other people in the same way. But we need to learn who God is and who we are, who other people are, and what the correct structure of that relationship is. That's what every single page of the Torah is there to teach us. Shabbat Shalom.